Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone. I got a brand new video for you, ladies and gentlemen. But before I get started, like always, I appreciate you guys drop a like. And if you're new to the channel, first time here, never ever seen any of my NBA lineup advice video, you happen to stumble onto the site or you were recommended, hey, I greatly appreciate you guys stopping by and taking a look at the video. The only thing you have to do to be a part of the community here and be able to get lineup advice on a consistent basis, at least for the NBA right now, the only thing you need to do is become a subscriber. So make sure you subscribe down below. Make sure you put on your post notifications, that bell icon. Make sure you turn that on so this way you don't miss out on any of my lineup advice videos when I upload them. With that being said, today is Tuesday, January the 22nd, 2019, and we have a 4-game slate in the association today. And first things first, I want to apologize. I wasn't able to do any videos this week, and I elected to take the weekend off. I had a number of things to do, and just make a long story short, hey, I just needed to get these things done, and I decided to take 3 days off. I could have done a video yesterday, but I wasn't able to. It wasn't sufficient time by the time I got back from what I was doing. But the beauty of it is that I'm back. I'm ready to grind. I had a couple of you guys reach out to me and ask if I was going to put something up yesterday, and I had a few of you reach out on Saturday as well, on Sunday as well. And again, I apologize. I did reach out to you guys and let you know the reasons why. But I am back and I'm ready to go, and it's a good thing. It's only a 4-game slate, and you know what happens here at DFS Zone. If you're new to the channel, what I normally do on a 3-4 game slate, and sometimes even 5 and 6 game slates, I utilize my Fantasy Crunchers, the software that I use. I basically optimize some lineups for everybody in all 3 platforms. I started doing Yahoo as part of that show just about 2 weeks ago, so I've done maybe 2 or 3 with Yahoo already. So this is going to be another time. So again, today you're going to get a Fanduel. We're going to optimize a Fanduel lineup, a DK, and a Yahoo lineup. So stay tuned, stick around. Let's first go over what I think are some of the best possible plays for us today in this 4-game slate, and then we'll just optimize all those better players in the Fantasy Cruncher, and we'll see what the Fantasy Cruncher comes up for us. All right. Again, 4-game slates. If you've been with me here long enough through the WNBA season, parts of last year as well. 4-game slates, man, everybody's available. There's plenty of guys you could possibly play. Obviously, we're going to look for the best possible plays. First things first, normally what I do is I go over the top tier players for the day, and as you can see, Russell Westbrook is on top. He's pretty much the top dog, I think, in all 3 platforms. So Russell Westbrook is in play. FanDuel price I'm not too fond of at $12,005. You need about 62, 63 to meet value. It is a big number. He's averaging 54, as you can see here. But his price at $11,000 on DK definitely is appealing for me, and I think I will have him in at least. I haven't played on DK for about close to a week now, but I like some of the prices. I like some of the prices I see on DK today for this actual slate. So I will. And with DK, I actually be very selective. I'm so comfortable playing on FanDuel that I play on FanDuel more than I play on DK. But on DK today, I do like the matchups for some guys. I do like some of the prices. So I will have exposure and playing some lineups on DraftKings today. And Russell Westbrook does come off very appealing for me as far as his price on DK being $11,000. You only need 55 there, and that's very close to his average of 54. So I definitely do like him there. So I'm not at all opposed to him here. I'll probably sprinkle him in here in a couple quarter GPPs, but not in this 100K, which I'm very, very selective when it comes to 100Ks as far as the top tier plays. So he is definitely somebody to consider if you're going to do quarter GPPs here, and he is definitely someone you can consider in all GPPs, maybe even in cash plays as well on DK at that price tag. So I am not, again, I'm not opposed to any of the 4 or 5 guys here at the top. Kawhi Leonard definitely stands out to me. If he does play, there's a possibility he might not play, but if he does play, I will have some exposure to Kawhi Leonard. Let's go over to the point guard position. At the top, of course, we just discussed Russell Westbrook. I will have a sprinkle of him here on FanDuel. I definitely like him for about 20% of my lineups on DK at that price tag of $11,000. Damian Lillard, I'm going to come all the way down, and I really want to pay down a little bit at point guard here after seeing Russell here at $12,500. I do like Kyle Lowry in this matchup against Sacramento because we know Sacramento is a paced-up team. We know that Mr. Fox is a good player, good offensive player. He's not the greatest defender. Neither is Kyle Lowry, but I like Lowry more so in this matchup simply because he is at home, and we know that they're going to pace this game down. Toronto is a very good defensive team. So Kyle Lowry I do like here. But I do like Derrick Rose here at 6,600. He's been playing really, really good as of late. I mean, 5 out of his last 6 games, he's been rock solid. If we look here, 19, 3, and 5 is his stats lines. As far as for the year, 31 fantasy points, 6,600 here on FanDuel. You need pretty much 33 to meet value. On DK, he is 6,300. So over there, you need about 32. Again, very much attainable for Derrick Rose. He's been solid all the way across the board. I think he can actually be a pretty safe cash play today for you cash play players. But I do like him as a GPP play as well because he has a 50-point upside. He could definitely get you there. As you can see, 5 out of his last 6 games, he's been pretty much at 31. He has 50-point upside. We go over to the cruncher. And you're going to see that I got some with thumbs up. Those are my favorite plays. And, of course, all the ones checked off are the ones I'm planning to put in the player pool. Okay, I already narrowed them down, and I already did all 3 platforms already. So stick around at the end, and we'll punch those out. I'll share those with you guys. So we'll go over to Derrick Rose. And at Derrick Rose, as you can see, the numbers are pretty darn good for Derrick Rose. 39, 34, 33, 43, 43, 48. Pretty much 6 out of his last 8 games, he's been at 33 or better. The minutes are there. As you can see, his minutes are pretty darn good. Probably about 24. I would say his minutes are about closer to 30, maybe 30 to 31 minutes a game on average, and his shot selection is pretty high as well. He is taking about 15, 16 shots a game. This last game here, he put up 24 shots. He's capable of hitting some threes. He'll take about 4 or 5 threes a game. He'll get to the free throw line. He's going to do okay on the free throw line. He's a good free throw shooter. He'll get you some rebounds, get you some assists. He'll assist. He fills up the stat sheet quite a little bit on certain days. And then, of course, he's capable of getting you some steals and an occasional block here and there. He hasn't done that in 3 straight games, but he is one that can possibly do that for you on a regular basis as well. His home and away splits have been pretty darn good. 16 games thus far this year on the road. And he is at 49% field goal percentage, 48% from 3, which is outstanding, 18 points per game and 30 fantasy points. He has had 2 games against Phoenix already. Played Phoenix twice already. He already put up a 32 spot and a 39 spot. Overall, shooting 57% in those 2 games, 28 points per game on average, and 35 fantasy points per game on average. So he is definitely in line, especially here against Phoenix again, to be able to do fairly well. And he's playing better than Jeff Teague, so it's one of the reasons why I like him coming off the bench here in this matchup. Phoenix is 29th in defending point guards, as you can see here, 29th. And they have been allowing 36.2 fantasy points per game, 39 to Walker, 41 to Lowry, 36 to Collison, and 36 to Jamal Murray over the last 4 games straight. So Derrick Rose is definitely in good company here. He should do fairly well. All right. If you're not on Derrick Rose, like I said, Russell Westbrook, I will have some exposure. I do like Kyle Lowry here versus Sacramento. They're 28th in defending point guards, allowing 35.4 fantasy points per game as of late. They did give up 36 to Mr. Walker and 43 to Lillard over the course of the last 2 games. Then if you're going to come down a little bit lower, I do like 2 guys here at the bottom, Mr. Brunson and Mr. Alexander. Other than Mr. Beverly, you can consider Beverly here, especially if Lou Will is out. There's a possibility 50-50 that Lou Will play, 50% that he may not play. If he does not play, then definitely Beverly and Bradley get a bump, as well as Alexander, as far as minutes and as far as usage. But I'd rather pay down for Alexander. He's been getting quite a bit of minutes, so if Lou Will is out, I will probably favor Alexander at 3,900 than I would Beverly. Dallas is 23rd in defending point guards. They've been allowing 36.4, actually even higher than Sacramento over the course of the last 5 games. They did give up 37 to Mr. Bledsoe and 31 to Collison over the last 2 games. At 3,900, that is a nice price tag for Alexander, who could possibly get 30 minutes or better. At 19, you pretty much need 19 from him. He's averaging 20. He's capable of getting you 25, 30. Mr. Alexander is definitely in play for me as one of those drop spot plays. And then, of course, Mr. Brunson as well. You know, he's still in that sub. You know, Dennis Smith Jr. has been still out. Brunson has gotten a little bit of minutes as of late as well. So he's getting a little run. And 3,700, you only need 15, 16 fantasy point totals. And as you can see, 20, 29, 21, and 29 over the last 4 games has been as high as 26 fantasy points, averaging 13. And he's been above 13 in 2 and 3 out of the last 4 times he's been on the court. So he is definitely someone to consider as well. The Clippers are 25th in defending point guards and allowing 27.4 fantasy points per game as of late. The last 2 guys that really hit them hard, hit them fairly hard. But obviously, Mr. Donovan Mitchell, 43. Curry put up 45. Is a nice return on Curry, but at his price tag, he definitely didn't meet value. But he's definitely, Mr. Brunson is definitely someone to consider. A shooting guard, let's go with a shooting guard. At the top, man, I like Luka Doncic, just no doubt about it. 8,900, he is priced, pretty good here as far as where he's at, as far as what he's been producing as of late. So we know he can definitely get there. He is really close to what he can possibly produce on a regular basis. But Doncic in another favorable matchup against the Clippers, who have been dreadful as of late, especially over the last 10, 11 games against all kind of guards. So Doncic is definitely in play, and he's also at home. At 8,900, he is 40. You need 44 here for him. Let me just open him up a little bit. He's averaging 20.7 rebounds, pretty much 5 assists. He fills up the stat sheet very well for a young rookie. It's just unbelievable how well he's doing. 37 fantasy points per game. 8,900, you need 44, so it's about 5 or 6 more fantasy points, or pretty much 7 more fantasy points than what he's averaging. On DK, he's 8,400, a little cheaper. You need 42 to meet value there. And as you can see, 36 plus in 7 out of his last 8 games. His lowest number has been 30, and that was 2 games ago. So if that's going to be his fantasy point total floor for him over the last 8-9 games, I mean, that is not too bad for me. 30 spot here. All right, we go over to the fantasy cruncher, shooting guard. As you can see, Mr. Doncic is in there. I do like Lou Will if he plays as well, and Mr. Buddy Hield. But let me just click those guys. I didn't mention those. Those are guys that we're going to discuss in a moment. So we go Luka Doncic, and as you can see, the Don has been getting busy, man. Look at these solid games here. Look at the minutes, over 31, 32 plus minutes pretty much per game. His usage rate is over 30% on average. So he is very, very much a big part of the offense for the Dallas Mavericks. And look at the shots. He's taking about 14, 15, maybe about 16 shots a game. But as of late, he's more at 16, 17, maybe even 18 shots a game. He'll hit some threes. He'll take a few there as well, 5 to 6 pretty much on average. He's a pretty good free throw shooter. And then he fills up the stat sheet. He'll get you rebounds, assists. Look at this. 11 rebounds and 10 assists in his last game, a triple-double, his first of his career. And then, of course, he is capable of getting you some defensive plays as well. Look at the steals here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in the last 7 or 8 games. So, and he'll get you the occasional block. He's just been solid. Rookie of the year, hands down, thus far. I don't think anybody's going to be able to even come close. His home and away splits have been really, really good. At home this year, 21 games. It's 46% field goal percentage, 36% from 3, averaging 21 points per game and 40 fantasy points. The Clippers, 1 game against them thus far this year. And in that 1 game, he had 50% shooting from the floor, 50% from 3, put up 32 points and 52 fantasy points. He had a solid game. So, again, we have to consider Mr. Doncic. His price, again, is fairly high. It's high, but is definitely very much attainable for him. I think he is definitely, if his floor is only going to be, again, 35, 36 or something like that, I'm okay with that even for cash play for you guys, but I would prefer him more for GPP today. All right, we come here. Doncic out, and let's take a look. I say Lou Will if he plays. He's definitely someone to consider here against Dallas. Devin Booker, 7,900, and then he's 8,300 on DK, so he's a little more pricey over there. So obviously, if you wanted to play him, he is the better play here on Fanduel at 7,900. No doubt, this is a 9K player, and he's not playing as well. He's starting to pick it up. He had a 50-point game, I think, 2 games ago. So Devin Booker is definitely someone to consider. Coming down a little lower. The only other person that I really do like here today is Buddy Hield. So at 6,000, I am all over Buddy Hield. He'll be in about 20% of my lineups here on FanDuel. Buddy Hield is 6,000 here. You only need 30. He is a better play here than on DK. DK is 6,900. He's $900 more. Okay, so you need 34 to meet value over there, and he is capable of hitting 34. Very much capable. Toronto's 25th in defending shooting guards, allowing 35.7 fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards as of late. 38 to Booker, 88 to Beal, and 34 to Jeremy Lin. Those are just 3 out of the last 5 or 6 games that they've given up those kind of numbers. I do like Mr. Hield here. Other than that, if you wanted to pay down, you can always consider Mr. Danny Green here. He's getting massive minutes, 5,000. You need 25. Terrence Ferguson gets more than enough minutes. He's someone to consider as well. Then you got Wesley Matthews here at home. He usually plays much better at home than he does on the road. Could be someone to consider at 4,300. You need about 21, 22 to meet value. Iman Shumpert has been getting his minutes back again, slowly but surely. I think he's played 30 minutes in 2 straight games. So 30 minutes at 3,800, you got to at least consider him for that draw spot where he could possibly go off and get you 25, 30. All right, small forward. At the top, we got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. I do love Kawhi Leonard here if he does play in this matchup against Sacramento. So we'll wait and see on that. But the bottom line is I will have exposure to him. I'm letting you know right now, probably 10 to 15%, maybe even as much as 20% if I know for a fact before lock that he is definitely going to play and it's not going to have any minutes restrictions or anything like that. I definitely think Kawhi Leonard is someone in play. Other than that, my favorite play down here is Kelly Oubre Jr., 6,100. So I'm going to put him on here. And I forgot to put the guys on the table. I'm just going to add him here. I forgot to add the other two. Let's go back one moment. No, we'll stay right here. All right, so Kelly Oubre, we'll get to that at the end. I apologize for that. So Kelly Oubre Jr., 6,100 here. Numbers have been just incredible for Kelly Oubre Jr. There was the right thing for Phoenix to go and get this guy. They knew they were getting somebody who could be a very good offensive-minded player and could put up some nice numbers for them. And he's coming off the bench, and he's right now, he's right now showing that he could be a consideration for Sixth Man of the Year coming off the bench the way he's been doing. Minutes have been good, 29 to as much as 30 pretty much on average. And as you can see, his numbers, 6 out of his last 7 games, he's been at 28 plus, which is above his average of 24 fantasy points per game. He's averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, and pretty much 1 assist at 6,100 here on Fanduel. You need 30. On DK's 5,600, we'll have exposure to him as well. There, you need 27. And again, he's averaging 24, and he's been putting those numbers way beyond that in those last 7, 8 games. Okay, playing more than 29 minutes. Let's go over here and take a look at him a little bit closer. Small forward, Mr. Oubre. And as you can see, you look at those numbers, they just look beautiful. 30, pretty much 31, 30 plus in about 7 or 8 out of his last 9 games or so. The minutes are there, 29 to 30 a game. Look at the shots, as much as 15, pretty much 16 shots a game. He's taking 5 or 6 threes on average, and he's hitting those at about not as considered. Last 2 games been a little much more efficient with his field goal shooting from 3. But he's capable of getting hot from there. Then he's a decent free throw shooter. He can get you some rebounds. Definitely is not a good, into assisting the ball. He is one of those guys that catches and looks for his opportunities as an offensive-minded player. But look at the steals: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he has had 12 steals and 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 blocks in those 7, 8 games that I've discussed during that stretch. So he's playing fabulous defense. Did get a little bit of foul trouble in the last game, but nonetheless, he's been pretty consistent. He is good GPP play today. I definitely do like him here. Home and away splits have been pretty good, 47%. These are 8 games thus far at home. 47% field goal percentage, 35% from 3, 12 points per game, and 22 fantasy points per game. He did play against Minnesota 1 game this year, and in that 1 game, he put up a 32 spot, shot 58% from the floor and 57% from 3, with 18 points and 33, as you know, 32, 33 fantasy points. So awesome game for Mr. Oubre. 29th, Minnesota 29th defending small forwards, allowing only 24.3 as of late to opposing small forwards. But Mr. Rudy Gay put up 35 2 games ago. Butler put up 36 the game before that. So those 2 guys out of the last 3 games that put up those kind of numbers. Oubre should be able to see the same amount of shots and the same amount of minutes again here today. I do like him here at that price tag of 6,100. So Kelly Oubre in play. All right. We go to other than Kelly Oubre, you can consider Harrison Barnes. He's pretty consistent, 27 to 30 fantasy points, pretty much on average. But he'll have those moments where he only get 22, 23. So I'm a little weary there. But he is at home. Players usually play better at home. So you can consider Mr. Barnes there. Other than that, man, Mr. Mikal Bridges. But Bridges could be someone to consider. 4,000. You only need 20. He's on DK's 3,800, Minnesota 29th, as you already know, against opposing small forwards, giving up nearly 27 fantasy points per game. Could be someone to consider. He gets the minutes. He's been getting 20 minutes or better, and for that price tag, he's capable of getting you 20 or more fantasy points. So someone to consider. Norman Powell has been getting a little bit of minutes as well, so Powell could be someone here at 3,900 in that drop spot. And other than that, CJ Miles for Toronto also 3,700 as of late has been coming off the bench, playing 17 to 18, 20 minutes and putting up more than 1.1 fantasy point per minute. So Mr. CJ Miles is definitely someone to consider as well. All right, Sacramento's 26 in defending small forwards and allowing only 19.3 fantasy points per game. Maybe not the most ideal matchup for him, but if you want a drop spot play that has the upside to get you 20, 25, even 30 at that price, CJ Miles is someone you can consider. At power forward at the top, man, I love Barris Harris, hands down. Tavares Harris is definitely in play for me. There is no Gallinari. If there happens to be no Williams, then it opens up the doors not only for those guys in the backcourt to get more usage and shots, but it also increases the potential for Mr. Harris to put up even more shots and be more offensive minded. And that has happened during the course of the last game or two. But Tavares, let's come here. Mr. Harris, 21 points a game, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 36 fantasy points at 8,100. You need pretty much 40. And he's only 8K on DK, so you need 40 there as well. So straight through the board, only a 40 spot. He is more than capable of doing it. He's averaging 36, and he's been at 8 games straight at least 32 or better. 8 games straight, so he's been pretty consistent. If his floor in fantasy points is going to be 32 and he's averaging 36, I'm okay with that. I would say that he's a safe bet for a cash play, and he definitely has the upside to be a GPP play. So I do like Tavares Harris here today. And look at this: the last 2 games, 27 and 28, and that's explosive. And you think about it, 3 out of his last 4 games, he's been at 20 points or more, and he's just he's playing really, really well right now. Let's go and take a look at him a little further here on the cruncher. Tavares, and as you can see, 63 in the last game, pretty consistent. 32, 34s, 37s, all the way across the boards. The minutes are there, over 30 minutes a game, which you always want to look for from a starter. He's been more on the average of about 32 to 33 minutes per game. And as you can see, the usage rate is pretty good as well, over 20%, nearly 23 to 24 on average. He's getting he averages about 15, 16 shots a game, but as you can see, the last 2 games, there's been a bump there, 18 and 20, and he's probably going to get about 18 to 20 or more again today, especially if there's no Lou Will. But if we know Gallinari's out, so we know he's going to get some shots. And he's able to get some threes as well. As you can see, he's shooting about 50% from 3 as of late as well. He's capable of getting to the foul line, and he's very good there as well. Good free throw shooter. Rebounds are there. Can get some assists. This was just a crazy game where he got 9 assists. As you can see, he has not done that all year long, or at least as of late. But if he could continue to do that, he's only going to benefit. And at the same time, steals and blocks, so he could definitely defend. Get you some steals and blocks, all added fantasy point totals for us. His home and away splits, shooting better on the road, so that's a plus. That's another reason why. At home thus far this year, on the road thus far this year, 22 games on the road, 52% field goal percentage for Mr. Harris, 46% from 3, averaging 8 rebounds and 21 points, 38 fantasy points per game. Versus Dallas this year, he hasn't shot well against them, even though he has played them 2 times already. These are 2 pitiful games. Again, I'm looking at this more so that there's no Gallo. He's going to need to step up, and I also like the fact just that there's a possibility that there's no Williams, so it's going to open up the doors for even more him here. But he didn't shoot well, man. 9 of 30 in those 2 games, only 30% from the floor and only 14% from 3, as he took 7 shots and only hit 1. But he did manage still to get 15 points per game and 32 fantasy points, and the reason why is because he was able to get some rebounds and some assists and get some steals. And as long as you're not shooting well, you can continue to do these kind of things and get to the foul line. You see, he still was able to get 12 points in those 2 games combined as far as free throws are concerned. So he was 100% from the free throw line, and that's the reason why he got to 15 and 16 points respectively. Versus Dallas, so again, Dallas is coming in here. They're 15th in defending power forwards, allowing 30.2 fantasy points per game as of late. They did give up 31 to DeRozan, 51 to Durant, and 36 to Wiggins. Those are 3 out of the last 5 or 6 games. Other than Mr. Tavares Harris. If you're not on Harris, man, I do like Siakam at $6,900. That's a nice little drop down in price there. You're talking about $1,200 less. Cheaper, you can get Pascal Siakam. I think that he's a fine play. You could also consider Ibaka here. Siakam is at 69. You need 34. On DK 63, you need 31. Sacramento 17th in defending power forwards and allowing 34.2 fantasy points per game to opposing small power forwards. And in the 1 game, he did play 1 game against Sacramento. He put up a 72% field goal percentage from the floor, 21 points and 30 fantasy points. So, yeah, you could definitely consider Mr. Siakam there. Other than Siakam, Aminu is in a good spot as well, 5,900. His price tag is a little up. I like him more when he's like 52, 5,300, but he's been pretty solid, averaging more than 24 fantasy points per game as of late as well. You see his average is 24, but he has had 233, 33, and 35. He's been up there in the 30s. He is pretty good for about 25. He can possibly get you 30 fantasy points. against OKC. So I do like Aminu here as well. Taj Gibson's minutes are now up, and he's also been shooting well as well. So you could consider him possibly against Phoenix here, having all those issues in the front court. That might be a possibility. You come down a little bit lower. I mean, Saric could be a possible deadly play here at 3,900, as well as Powell and as well as Bender. So keep in mind, all three of these guys are definitely good drop spot situations. Saric at 3,900 and on DK's 4,200. I don't think that's a major factor there. I would consider him there as well, but he's a definitely better price than on FanDuel. You need pretty much 19 to 20 fantasy points to be value there. Phoenix is 27th in defending power forwards and allowing 31.3 fantasy points per game. And then you got Mr. Bender, more than likely is going to get the start. Obviously, with all the issues they have in their front court for Phoenix, he is 3,800 here on FanDuel, and on DK's 4,000. Again, you need anywhere between 18 and 19, maybe even 20 fantasy points. Minnesota is 7th in defending power forward, so they're doing very well there. But they have been giving up 32.3 fantasy points per game, so there's a little wiggle room there for Mr. Bender. So again, Bender, Powell, and Saric, I think all considerations there in that drop spot. All right. And I think that's pretty much it that I do like after my evaluation. At center, at the top, man, Karl Anthony Towns is in play. I will have a little exposure to him, maybe 10-15%. I will have a little 10-15% exposure to Mr. Nurkic in my quarter games. But obviously, hands down, the best play here is DeAndre Jordan today at 7,000, going up against his former organization. He already has played them twice, already has buried them twice. So why not go, back to the well again? It don't make no sense. For me, that makes total sense. So 7,000 for Mr. Jordan, 6,400 on DK. So you pretty much only need 32 from him here on DK, and here you need 35. Very much attainable. He's averaging close to 34. As you can see, his minutes are there, 29 to as much as 30, 31 minutes a game. He's a double-doubles guy, and he's also a pretty good one fantasy point per minute guy. And as you can see here, 3 out of his last 4 games, he's been pretty much at 33 or better, which is around his average, so slightly higher. So, I mean, even if you're able to take him here and he gets you, let's say, a dud game like a 29, that would not be bad at all. You're taking a hit of about 6 or 7 fantasy point totals, but he has 50-point upside. So, again, he could just go nuts again, which he has done already. Let's go over to the Fantasy Cruncher. And as you can see, at center, I only have 4 guys that I'm interested in: Jordan, Stein, Nurkic, and Towns. I will have exposure to all of them, but I think DeAndre Jordan is the best play, hands down. He's going up against his former mates, his former organization, and he's already buried them. So we're going to go right to it. As you can see, against the Clippers, a 46 and a 53 in 2 games against them. In those 2 games, he pretty much shot 58% from the floor, had 22 rebounds. 22 rebounds a game. 22 here and 23 is outrageous. 1 steal, and he had 13 points, pretty much was his average, and 51 fantasy points. 50-point upside against his former team, going up against them a 3rd time, and then at home this year, 22 games in Dallas, 64% field goal percentage, 73% from the free throw line, averaging 14 rebounds a game at home and 1.5 blocks with the steal, 11 points per game and 36 fantasy points per game. So even his fantasy point totals at home are pretty good at 36 fantasy points per game. We know he's not going to get tons of usage. We know he's not going to get tons of shots. We need him to rebound. We need him to block shots. We need him to rebound. We need him to get a couple of steals. If he's able to do that, we will definitely, we'll do well here with him at this spot. So DeAndre Jordan in play. Like I said, other than that, Nurkic and Towns, I definitely do like as well. And that's pretty much where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's go over to the cruncher. Let me just line up these guys here. Let's put Mr. Jordan in there. So this way you at least get an idea. And then, of course, I mentioned a few other plays. Like always, I'm always going to give you options here. So at the top here, I said Derrick Rose. And at shooting guard, I said Mr. Luka Doncic. So there we go. And you still got 5,800 left. And again, you can mix match. You can go with some of the other ones that I mentioned. You could go Russell Westbrook here. You can, not go with Luka here. You could go Devin Booker if you wanted to, or you can go Buddy Hield, and so on and so forth. So always keep those guys in mind. Let's go to Fantasy Cruncher. And at the top, okay, as you can see, the total line today was 81 players. I've narrowed that pool down to 37. All right, as you can see, the ones checked off are the ones that I kind of like the best. And I already have crunched these guys down on FanDuel, and this is what we got. Okay, out of all those players I played, at the top guy is Karl Anthony Towns. At 100% of the 50 lineups I made, he was in every one of the lineups. Other than that, Mr. Alexander for the Clippers, 96%. Lou Will, if he plays, 82%. Aminu, 76%. Devin Booker, 76%. Kawhi Leonard, 74%. And so on and so forth. Here goes the first few lines right here. Okay, so we got Rose, Alexander, Booker, Williams, Leonard. If he plays, again, these guys are not for sure. So this is why you got to always keep those options open. But at least by seeing this, or at least seeing some sort of optimized lineup, you now can mix and match. And the beauty about Fantasy Crunch, if you were to use it, you're able to, eliminate this player, all these players, and make changes right here on your screen. Okay, but Lou Will, Leonard, Bridges, Aminu, Saric, and Towns. And again, we'll go over the players here again. At point guard, the top guy was Alexander, with Brunson 56%, Rose 34%, which is my choice. And then I did mention Westbrook, and I did mention that I do like Kyle Lowry. So all three of my guys that I at least mentioned for you guys have popped up here, with Derrick Rose being the top one out of the three, and he's my top play. Shooting guard, Lou Will at the top, Devin Booker, Doncic, which I gave you guys, is third on this list. Then you got Bogdanovich, Green, and Hield. I did mention Hield as my second favorite play. I did say that Mr. Green is someone you can consider. I didn't have Bogdanovich on my list. I did tell you Booker, and I did say Williams if he plays. Small forward, Kawhi Leonard, I told you guys I definitely have exposure to him if he's playing. They got Harkless here, 48% second. Oubre was my top pick, 40%. I did say that you should have some exposure to Warren if you didn't want Oubre. I also mentioned Mr. Bridges, and I also mentioned Mr. Powell. Power forward, Aminu, which I did mention. Saric, I mentioned. Harrell, third, 24%. Bender, Siakam, and so on and so forth. And at center, the only one that really came up is Karl Anthony Towns. As you guys do know, I do like DeAndre Jordan, and I do like Nurkic as well as Mr. Towns. Let's stroll down. I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds to look at the second row of lines. And like I normally do, I give you 15 lines. Here goes line number 7, 8, and 9. Here goes 10, 11, and 12. Here goes 13, 14, and 15. Okay. So you can pause the video, take a look at that. If you can see it, it should be clear. You should be able to see it. I'm going to go to the top now. I'm going to go right to DraftKings. So now the DK lines, I already have punched in all the players that I wanted in the player pool that I would consider. And then, of course, everything is being optimized by all the projections are done by Fantasy Cruncher. These are not my projections. I want everybody to know, projections are projections. You can go to 3 or 4 different sites. You could have 2 or 3 different services. Chances are everybody's going to be slightly different on the projections, and that's because everybody has a different formula they use to get their numbers together, crunch numbers down. I only look at 4 or 5 things I really like to look at for, and it usually works fine for me. So it all depends. So again, nothing's guaranteed. Like always, you're going to hear that here, and I'm sure you hear it from other areas as well. Nothing's guaranteed on the lines here. Anything is optimized, or anything, as far as players are concerned, because anything can happen any given day. Player can get sick, player can get hurt, coach's decision in the middle of a game. We all seen that all happen. So you got to have a little bit of lady luck along the way as well to win some of these GPPs or to cash out. Over here on DraftKings, the top guy is actually Mr. Nurkic, 100%. And then Aminu, 96%, Bogdanovich, 94%, Lou Wilson, 84%, Patrick Beverley, 68%, then Karl Anthony Towns, 66%, Oubre, 48%. I'm going to break them down here. As you can see, the first line is right there in front of you, so you can check it out while I'm reading these guys out. At point guard, Lou Will is the top point guard. Beverley at 68%. 68% is second. Luka Doncic, who I mentioned to you was my favorite player, is at 38%. Derrick Rose, 16%. Jalen Brunson, which I also mentioned for Fanduel, is 12% here. And even Mr. Alexander, 10%. Shooting guard, you got Bogdanovich, you got Lou Will, Beverley, Oubre, Green, Bridges, and Bradley are the top guys. Rose, 16%. Small forward is Aminu, Bogdanovich, Oubre, 48%, Doncic, 38%, Green, 30%, and so on and so forth. Kawhi Leonard is at 16%, not really high here on DK. Power forward spot, Aminu, still the top dog, 96%. Kawhi Leonard, 16%. Warren, 16%. Pascal Siakam at 14%. Jeremy Grant at 4%. And Dario Saric at 2%. And at center is Nurkic at 100%. Karl Anthony Towns at 66%. Siakam at 14%. And DeAndre Jordan at 8%. So there goes your first 3 lines there. First one I'll read to you: Alexander, Beverley, Bogdanovich, Aminu, Nurkic, Williams, Oubre, and Karl Anthony Towns. The rest are here. That's the second row of lines. So that's 3, 4, and 5. 5, 6, and 7. 6, 7, and 8. You got 10, 11, and 12 there, and then this is 13, 14, and 15. I skipped a line, but all of them were shown. And again, there'll be more to it, but I mean, I'll be here. It'll be a long video if I'm going to stroll through all of them. So you get the idea. You get the top dogs up there, and you're able to mix and match and eliminate, and you make your own decisions on whom you would prefer to play at Yahoo. Again, this is all to help all those that don't have the time. I have the time. I have 2 or 3 hours during the day that I could allocate time to this, and that's the reason why I do the channel and help those out. So now we're on Yahoo, and I already did the 50 lines here as well. So we're going to go right down to Yahoo, and their top dog on Yahoo was Karl Anthony Town at 100%, Nurkic at 94%, Harkless at 82%. Then comes Teague at 76%, which I'm not on. Beverly 60, Doncic 58, and so on and so forth. We go to point guard, top dog. There is Teague, Beverly. Then comes Derrick Rose, Alexander, Lowry, and then Brunson. At shooting guard is Oubre, Lou Will, Avery Bradley, Danny Green, Wiggins, Bogdanovich, and Booker. Small forward is Harkless, then Doncic, Leonard, and Powell. Power forward, Aminu, Bagley, Barnes, Saric, Gibson, Warren, Harris, Siakam, and Kleber. That's a lot of guys at power forward, so that's split up pretty spread out there. And then, of course, on the top for a center is just Towns at 100% and Nurkic at 94%. So no, not too high of picking for DeAndre Jordan. But again, I think DeAndre Jordan, for his price tag and the upside and playing against his former team and having some success against them already, I think is a fine play for you guys today. I know I will have the most exposure to him, but like I said, I will have exposure to Mr. Towns and as well as Mr. Nurkic, because I think they're in good spots as well. There goes your second line, so that's 6. Then you got 7, 8, and 9 here on Yahoo. 8, 9, 10. 10, 11, and 12. And there goes 13, 14, and 15 right there, right in the middle. All right. That's pretty much where we're at, guys. Okay, so again, I wish you guys a lot of luck. Again, drop a like on the video. If you haven't subscribed as of yet, please subscribe. If you like and you kindly wish to, please share it with others. I would greatly appreciate that. Other than that, I wish you guys a lot of luck, man. And again, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next video.